Hot of Coffee Knits. Today is Thursday, August 2nd, and it's a beautiful day outside, and it's a beautiful day to make a podcast. And so welcome. I hope you enjoy, and let's talk about some knitting and dyeing and all that sort of fun stuff. Okay, so I did a podcast a few days ago, and it was very personal. It talked about my grandma, and it talked about my family in general and our family trip, and so it was a little less knitting and dyeing and a little more personal of things we've been doing this summer, and a little tribute to my grandma and a tribute to my dad who just had his 70th birthday. But this time, let's talk a little bit more about some knitting and yarn dyeing and things like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is the projects that I've been working on mostly this summer are these hats. These are little beanie hats. The pattern is called the Regular Guy Beanie by Chuck Wright, and it is a free Ravelry pattern. And my husband, I knitted him a hat a few years ago out of thick and quick and yarn, and he's worn it all the time, and it's pretty ratty nowadays. So he had said that he would like a new hat in a different style that's kind of more of a beanie. So we found this pattern, and he really liked the pattern, and I told him that he could pick out whatever yarn he wanted. And we talked about some alpaca because he said he wanted something really, really soft and lightweight, less bulky. And so I told him that he would really like alpaca yarn because it's really soft and warm, but it's lightweight. And so we actually just went on KnitPicks and found this yarn. And this is natural color. It's not dyed. And so he wanted this color for his hat. So I made him one. And as soon as I made him one, all of my kids said that they absolutely love this style of hat too. And so all three of my sons wanted one in the exact same color. And then my daughter wanted one in a different color. And so the projects that I finished lately is I have now made 4 of these hats on our travels because it's a really easy project to knit in the car or when we're out and about, because it's just a 2x2 rib, and then it's just stockinette till you get to your decreases. So it's a really simple mindless knit. So it's really easy to take with me on our trips and stuff. So I've knitted 4 of those, and the only other projects that I finished was the beginning of June. I made 5 of these little squares that have a cross in the center. They're 12x12 squares. And those were for a mission project. Other than that, I have not finished anything all summer. But I have a bunch of works in progress, and a few more that I'm going to be casting on here in the next week or two, just because I'm a glutton for punishment, or I don't know what that is. But so yeah, check it out. It's the Regular Guy Beanie by Chuck Wright and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's a super easy read pattern. It's super easy knit. It's a super quick knit. So if you're looking for just a beanie style hat, I highly recommend this pattern because it was very easy to follow. And it's something you can do when you're out and about, running around. So those are the only finished projects that I have so far. All right, so let's talk about the works in progress that I'm doing right now. So the main project, like I talked about, that I've been working on is those hats. And so one of the works in progress that I have right now is my daughter's hat, and this is in the same alpaca yarn, only, and this is naturally colored also, not dyed at all. Only this is more of a tan oatmeal kind of color. So this is all natural, so soft and squishy. I love alpaca yarn. I absolutely love it. So this is where I've gotten so far on hers. I just cast it on last night, actually. And she wants me to make one for me too, so that she and I can match, like all four of the guys will match. So far I'm just working on the rib, and I have my little, progress keeper on here. Not sure if you can see it. It says, I heart Jesus. So yeah, that's all the further I've gotten so far, and this is all I did. I did 2 rows today. So I'm working on that, and that one is being held in my favorite bag that I have. This bag, it's got pockets, it's got a drawstring, it's got such a cute lining in here. And this was made, I bought this, here's the lining. It's big inside, but I love the drawstrings. I fold it down so it stands up straight. And I love the drawstrings because then I can carry it with me and knit. This is from Olivia at This Handmade Life, and you can find her on Instagram, and she has an Etsy shop. I love this bag. It is my favorite bag, so I will definitely buy more bags from her in the future. She does super quality work, and I love her Instagram feed too, because I feel like she and I are kindred spirits. I absolutely love every picture she puts on there because the colors she picks, the things that she's working on, they're always things that I absolutely think are beautiful and love. So you can check her out. It's This Handmade Life. It's Olivia, and she's on Instagram. The next project I've been working the most diligently on, besides that hat, is I've gone back to my sock, my first ever knitted sock, and that is in a bag that I made. And the yarn is Life is the Bubbles by the Woolen Homestead. And you hear me talk a lot about the Woolen Homestead, but I love Tiffany and her husband Ethan. They do such good work, and like watching her podcast and following her on Instagram is really what got me into the indie dyed yarns. And so I love the colors that they do, and their podcast is really funny. And you know, sometimes I've never met either of them in person, but they're those types of people that I feel like I've gotten to know really well through Instagram and the knitting world and the dyeing world, that I feel like I know them really well. So this is their yarn, and this is the sock I've been working on. And the sock pattern is Hermione's Everyday Socks, which I love the pattern. And I love how this yarn turns out with it, because I really feel like it looks like scales, like a mermaid's tail or something. I've just been working on this the last 2 days, and so here's my little progress creeper. So that's how far I've gotten. I'm past the heel and gusset, and I'm working now on the foot part. So we'll see how that turns out. Now, my major mistake, that I've posted this picture on Instagram, and people say they can't see it, but you really can. It's probably just not a very good picture of it. But this is my first sock ever, remember, so don't judge and don't laugh. But this is my mistake. You see that? So what happened is, when I was concentrating so hard, see that? See that garter ridge around there? That's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be stockinette all the way there. I was concentrating so hard on the heel flap and gusset because I didn't know what I was doing, because I've never done one before. And so when I picked up the stitches like you're supposed to, I picked them up the wrong way, which in turn made, I started knitting a couple rows, and then I realized that I was knitting it basically inside out. And so then I had to switch my direction. And the reason I didn't go back and fix this is a couple of different reasons. One reason is because this is all in a pattern, and I really didn't know how to go back and fix that, because I didn't know on rows that this initially happened on. And then the second reason is because I kind of wanted to leave it there. So when I did my second sock, I would see where I made my mistake the first time, and it would remind me to focus on doing it the correct way the next time and be very careful about how I'm doing it on the next sock. This has been, so this little stitch marker as a little dove, this has been a new project in many things for me because, well, not in many things, but a couple things, because I had never knit a sock before, so this is the first sock I've ever knit, and this is also the first project I've ever done magic loop on, which I don't mind doing magic loop on this. Traditionally, I actually prefer double pointed needles, but I really wanted to try magic loop and give it a try, so yeah, so this sock has been a first for a couple different things. So yeah, hopefully I'll finish this by this weekend, and I'll cast on the second sock and see how that one goes. I've enjoyed knitting it, although I see people talk all the time, oh, sock knitting is great for, you know, taking out and about with you and having an on-the-go project. I wouldn't have been able to do that with this sock, honestly, because of the pattern and just doing something new. Maybe in the future, as I do more socks, it will become an easier project for me, especially if I didn't do this pattern on here and it was a little more straightforward, like a stockinette or something. But yeah, that I wouldn't have been able to take this out and about because I had to think a little too much to mindlessly knit on this one. But that's my sock, and that is the second project that I've been working on diligently over the last few days, because I really want to get one finished so I can see how it feels, because honestly I've never even worn a hand knitted sock before, so who knows, maybe I'll try it on and I won't like the way it feels and I won't like the way it fits, and so I might not like to knit any more socks. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. My buddy. This is my buddy Benny. Benny the Jet Rodriguez. The next thing that I work on that, I mean, it's very not regular that I work on this because you have to finish a project in order to work on it, but is my Cozy Memories blanket. I added a new square. This square is from my summer rain shawl that I finished back a couple months ago. So I've added that one to this project, and that is in this bag that I made with this lining. So that one I only work on, obviously, if I finish something. So it's not very often I pick this one up. And then the next project that I started working on again recently in the last day or two is, turn the page here, is the Washed Out shawl or wrap by Joji Locatelli. I'm so excited to have this wrap. I really wanted to have it done in the spring, but I put it aside and I really didn't work on it. But I think it's this awesome, humongous like wrap shawl, so it would be awesome to have this done at least for the fall, because it would be a great lightweight thing to wear when it's still kind of warm out. So this has a lot of pages to the pattern because it's big, but this will show you a little bit more detail of it too. And look at all this lace detail is really pretty to me. I love that. The yarns, so this is as far as I have gotten on that. I'm not super far. I'm still in the first few steps here. Oh, I'm all tangled up. Okay. So I've done one section of this lace to the tip. So this is all the further that I have gotten. And at first, the lace gave me a hard time. I don't know what I did wrong, but my count was off, so my stitches were all off. So I haven't had to do lace again yet, but I'm about to do another section of lace, so hopefully I don't screw myself up again this time. This one has a stitch marker on there, which is a cross. I don't know if you're noticing a theme of my stitch markers. They are actually stitch markers that are in my shop too. My sister made these for me, and they are religious inspired, so They are in my Etsy shop if you like these. There's 2 more sets in there. So that's where that stitch marker is. That's just what I've worked on this morning from there. And I plan on working on this more this afternoon. My kids are actually going to a friend's house this afternoon, and the other kids I watch are sleeping, so I need to be planning my kids' homeschool curriculum for the year, but instead I am going to choose to knit. The yarn that I am using for this whole shawl will be Tiffany and Ethan, the Woolen Homesteads yarns. Like I said, I love their yarn. But I've had these yarns for quite some time. I started this shawl, gosh, I don't even know, 6 months ago. So, I mean, it's been sitting aside for a little while because life just got busy and there was other smaller projects to finish. So I've had this yarn for a really long time. So the colorways is Blueberry Crumb Cakes. It's got grays and blues in there. Then the second one, yarn number 2 that will be used, is called Stardust. And this one has some grays and blues, but it also has some yellows and whites and purples in there. So side by side, I mean, you can see the difference, but it'll be a nice subtle transition to the second part of the pattern. And then the third one that I'm using is called Solstice Twilight. And so it's the white lacy part, and this one has some pink and purple and little splotches of yellow in there. So side by side, it'll end up looking like this. And I think it'll turn out really pretty. I love the colors. So I'm super excited to have this done. I know it'll still be a while because it's a big project, but I'm super excited to actually get this knitted up and see how it turns out. So I will tag the Woolen Homestead in it as I continue to work on it on Instagram too, so you can look at it on their page also. And another shawl project that I am doing is this one here. On the Spice Market Shawl by Melanie Berg. And this pattern, I am actually doing it in the colors shown. And it's Miss Babs yarn in her spice colorway. So this is what that shawl will look like when it's done. I was a little further than I was. I also have not worked on this one in quite some time. This is probably the one I actually have worked on the least lately. I was working on it non-stop, and then I kind of took a break from it because, so this is all the further I am on it, and these colors are, I wish I had it done by fall, so I might have to like start working on it again, but I screwed myself completely up, and I'm kind of scared to go back to it again until I gain some confidence and reread the pattern, because somehow I completely screwed up my stitches, and I ended up with 100 more stitches on here than I should have, so I obviously didn't read the pattern correctly somewhere. So it's been kind of pushed aside for a while, and I need to restart it. I absolutely love the colors in this shawl though, because they are fall colors. They're so beautiful. They're my favorite colors. I love fall. I can't wait for fall. Aren't they beautiful? Miss Babs. Miss Babs yarn. Yummy 2-ply toes. Miss Babs inspired by nature. That's what I got. So I love this yarn and I love this pattern. I just need to get back into it because, like I said, it kind of threw me off. And it's going to outgrow this bag, but currently it is in this super cute bag by Knitting Nellie. I love the patchwork on there. Isn't that pretty? So it's about to outgrow this bag though, so I'm gonna have to put it in something else. But right now it's crammed inside of here. Those are the knitting projects I'm working on. The only other project that I'm working on right now, which is not knitting, is this cross stitch book that I got, because I have 3 sons, and sometimes it's really hard to find things to make for them, like knitting stuff, unless you make sweaters and hats. And I mean, they have a ton of hats, they have a ton of gloves, they have scarves. So I mean, you start to run out of things to knit them. So that I found this. I actually found this at Joann Fabrics one time, and I'm currently working on this Yoda picture. So this is all the farther I am, though. You see the resemblance here? It looks so much alike, doesn't it? This is an ear, and this is the part of his head. So I am not very far on it, but I had made them a Star Wars logo picture. I made them this one. I'll show it to you. I made them this one as a Christmas present that they could put in their room. And I have the stuff to make them, find it, this one to hang up too, and then they would have Yoda. But I only got that first Star Wars one done, so I am working on this. And the other thing I'm working on, which I don't have with me right now, but it's a huge horse head cross stitch pattern that I started when I was in junior high, and I never finished it. I actually gave it to my mom one time, and because she said maybe she would finish it, but then she never finished it, and it's just kind of sat. And so I found it at her house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that back. And so now I have it back, and my goal is, it's like 3/4 of the way done, but it is big. I mean, it's big. My goal is to finish it and to give it to my daughter as one of her Christmas presents, because she is just like I am, and she's obsessed with horses and loves horses, and I always loved horses too. That's why I got that pattern when I was in junior high. So that's one of my plans, is to finish that for her for a Christmas present too. But currently, those are all the projects that I have. I want to cast on a sweater, and I put that in my last podcast, and I've also posted that on Instagram, and I'm looking for suggestions on, I've never made a sweater before, so a simple sweater pattern that is comfortable, not super fitted, but I have a bunch of fingering weight yarn that I can use for it, so something that takes fingering weight. So leave me a comment, or send me a message or something, and give me some suggestions if you have any. But I'm looking to cast that on for one project. And then I recently just ordered some yarn from Brooklyn Tweed, because I'm going to cast on, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of it, an Andrea Mowry hat. And it is a mosaic colorwork pattern, and I've never done colorwork before, but it says in the pattern that it's a really easy beginner colorwork pattern, and I love the pattern. So I'm going to, as soon as I get that yarn from Brooklyn Tweed, I'm going to cast that on so that I can, number one, learn a new skill, and number two, have a new hat for winter, and I'm really excited about that. So, excuse me. I have a lot of yarn in my shop. Let's talk about some yarn in my shop. How about? I currently have a lot of yarn in my shop, so let's try and sort some of this out here. I have a bunch of avocado dyed yarns that go together. These 4 skeins were dyed in the same pot. They're a beautiful color. They're on a rustic worsted weight yarn, 200 yards each. They're $20 each in my shop. This yarn is from a local dairy who does sheep and goats, and this is hand spun from her sheep that I got that. So that's in my shop. I have this beautiful dandelion dyed yarn that I dyed from the First Springs dandelions here in my shop. Same wool base. Same wool base. Beautiful olive green. There's only one of these. There's some variegation in there. I absolutely love this color. Let's see, this one was dyed in alkanet root. These two. And you can't tell really well, but in person, they're kind of like a chestnut kind of brown. They look on the screen here, see, they kind of look like the avocado color on the screen, but they really don't. I wish I could give you a better picture. If you go to the Etsy shop, you can see a better picture, but they're kind of like a brown color. Those were alkanet root dyed. Same base. This is another avocado dyed yarn. This is on 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It's a sport weight, 274 yards. And this one, I absolutely think that this is the richest avocado dyed color I've gotten so far. It's a beautiful pinky mauve color, nice and rich and dark. I have another one that's about the same color. I actually dyed these two together, but this is on that rustic wool base. And then I have two more avocado dyed ones that are on that rustic wool base that were dyed in the same dye lot together. This one is on a fingering weight, superwash, 75% merino, 25% nylon, 450 yards base, and I love this one. And my daughter said it reminds her of bubblegum, so we called it bubblegum. This was dyed in a really light leftover madder root bath, and then I added the, and I still will never know how to say that, cochineal dye to get this bright pink on there. And I was super surprised about how this turned out, but it's turned out really cool. And if you want to see how this knits up, I have one of these in my shop because the other one was purchased by Joy Fiber Arts, which you can find on Instagram. And go back to her May posts, and she used this in one of her patterns with one of my yellow onion skin dyed yarns too. So you can see how that knits up on Instagram, Joy Fiber Arts. Some other natural dyed ones that I have here. This one is onion skin and madder root. Right here, it's kind of a peachy color with a little bit of reddish tones to it. This one is dyed on red onion skins actually, and it is a more muted yellow. Like this is yellow onion skins, this one's red onion skins, but this is a more muted kind of yellow. This is another one dyed on red onion skins, and it's kind of like a goldish brownish yellow. I think the red onion skin was so interesting to dye. I dyed it in 3 different batches, and you'll see here. And this one is twist dyed, and it is also red onion skin. So this was the first one I dyed, and I did it in a dip, so that not all of it got dyed. This is the second I dyed from the same dye just after it's been used once, and this is the third one. And so red onion skin has a lot of variation to its color, as you can see. All from one dye. I just exhausted it 3 times. Then I have a couple of madder root dyed yarns, which I love this color. It's like this perfect rusty orange red color. It's hard to see on here. Almost kind of looks pinkish on there, but it's really not. It's like this rusty orange kind of color, which would actually look really amazing with this gray for a fall knit. This gray is also in my shop, and it is an avocado dyed yarn that I added iron to. to get a gray. Let's see what else. Let me keep digging into my pile here. Also in my shop is, see, these ones were just dipped in an iron bath. So they have this like really pretty oatmeal kind of heather color. There's 2 of those. This really light yellow, it's a really soft yellow, same rustic base. I have a couple of those. These were dyed in orange peels. And then that leads us down to the non-natural dyed yarns that I still have in my shop. So I have a couple of them called Wonka Vision, inspired by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka. And I actually really love this color, and this would be a beautiful fall colorway. So if you're looking for a fall colorway, I highly recommend this. I think it would be beautiful. It's got like these rusty oranges, yellows, purples. Should be really pretty. I have Emerald Moss, which is a green, variegated, a little bit of speckling in there. And I have, which I just featured this on my Instagram page, so I featured these 2 together, which I think would work beautiful together. This is called Secret Garden. And I also posted a picture on my Instagram page of what this looks like knitted up. A friend of mine got a skein of this, and she made a 1 skein shawl, the Sicily shawl. And it's so pretty knitted up. I have a few of these. This is called another beautiful fall colorway if you're looking for something a little darker. It's a lot of black and grays, and then it's got some oranges throughout. And this is called Stormy Sunset. So there's a few of those in there. There's another Stormy Sunset, which I really love that too. Then I have these purple and green ones, which also go really, really pretty with more green, is Cloverfields. And then I have this really pretty multicolored blue one. And this is called Bluebird of Happiness. There's 2 of those. Let's show it a little closer. And then lastly, in my shop, I have a couple, I think, of these, and they are called Dandelion. It's bright green, bright yellow, and white. So I have a couple of those in my shop. So I have a lot in my shop, and I'm currently going to be doing some more dyeing here in the next couple of weeks, and so there will be things added to my shop, and I will probably do a shop update mid-August or at the end of August. I don't really know yet for sure. It depends on how much time I get to dye some yarn. But just check out my shop. I also have 4 of these cute little bags in my shop that I made. And they're just little small bags, but I mean, something to hold some notions in or something. So there's 4 of those in my shop too. But check out my yarn that's in there. And now that it's getting closer to the end of summer, some of these more rustic wools will be really good and warm. And they are each 200 yards. So they'll be really warm and great for some cold winter accessories. And I really love this one, the red onion skin with the twist in there. But yeah, go check out my shop. It's potofcoffeeknits.etsy.com. And any orders I get out within a day usually. And so if you place an order, you will get it very quickly from me. But check it out, share it, like it, follow me on my Etsy page, follow me on my Instagram at Pot of Coffee Knits, and make sure that you like and subscribe and follow my YouTube podcast so you can know what else is going on and what's new. But a lot of things that I do, I will put daily pictures on my Instagram, so I highly recommend following me on Instagram at Pot of Coffee Knits, because you'll find a lot of what I'm doing there. And I'm also on Facebook under Pot of Coffee Knits. I have a shop page on there too, so you can find me in all of those different places. But that's all I have for today, really. I wanted to showcase what I was working on, and I wanted to talk about what's in my shop. Some of the things that I will be having coming up that I'm going to be dyeing that is in my plans of things to dye is I have a bunch of marigolds that I've been saving. So I'm going to be dyeing with some marigolds coming up. My neighbor has black walnuts growing in his tree, so I'm going to go forage in his yard and collect all of his black walnuts here shortly. And I also have my Hopi black seed sunflowers that have finally bloomed in my garden, so I will be harvesting those seeds and making a dye out of those too before too long. So I have a few things coming up, but yeah, you'll just have to stay in touch. And again, comment, share, feel free to share any of my posts, but let me know again if you have any sweater ideas or any patterns that you absolutely love that you think I would be interested in, because I love seeing what other people are doing. And if you've purchased any of my yarn, make sure to tag me on Instagram or something so I can see what projects you're using with my yarn, and to see what it looks like all knitted up. And I'd love to see what you're working on if you've bought any of my yarn. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm going to try and be better at doing podcasts a little more frequently now that I'm kind of back in the groove of working on things. So, yeah, have a beautiful day. Happy August.
That's another Tony University strikeout. So next strikeout to 79 cents.